Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Is my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over. Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He is your host, Ben Mason.
And he is your co-host, Sandra Luketic. And today we're talking 1985's Once Bitten. We assume if you're listening to this episode, you have already seen the movie. Once Bitten's a weird title for this. But before we get into that, this is the first time we've been able to record in person since the beginning of the podcast.
Yes.
Before the beginning of the podcast. Zombievers.
Yeah, but we never did anything with that.
Yeah,
that was just for fun.
And we never will. Great to see you, man. Feel like meeting you for the first time. And I'm glad that we finally got to meet and chat in person about this absolutely amazing teen horror sex comedy that I thought was a great idea to pick, but I fucked us because this is a goddamn travesty of filmmaking.
What do you think was more painful? My 24 hours of flight delays to get to Nova Scotia or watching this hour-and-a-half movie?
Oh, I watched this hour-and-a-half movie 3 times in a week. I've never had a film that's pissed me off so much while making notes that I had to sit down, type for maybe 20 seconds, and then get up and leave the computer for a while.
You didn't seem that angry when we were watching it today.
I'm just exhausted. The emotion was gone until you hit record, but before that, it was just a wasteland. This movie destroyed my brain, but it does have some redeeming qualities. Sorry, it has some redeeming quality.
Well, I heard you laughing a couple times.
Yeah, there were a few decent moments, but I think this is the only teen horror sex comedy I've ever watched.
No way. You've seen like a million movies.
Teen horror, though, like, I get the teen sex comedies. They were a big thing in the 80s. Teen horror sex comedy, I don't know. I don't know. And I don't want to ever know another one of these movies.
Do you ever watch a movie like this and wonder how, like, the lead became as big as Jim Carrey is today, with this being his first feature-length, like, starring role, like, lead role?
He was young. He was 23 years old when this movie came out.
Yeah, young, good-looking guy.
And then nobody really knew who he was until In Living Color. And then he broke out in 94 with The Mask, Ace Ventura, and Dumb and Dumber all in that one year. So that's a
ridiculous lineup.
Amazing. But that's 9 years after this came out, so I'm pretty sure nobody knew this movie existed. But luckily for us, when I was a kid, well, I'll say it's probably 95, I found a VHS copy of this in a bin in, like, a Kmart, I think. And I had already seen those massive Jim Carrey movies. I was like, yes, a new one I've never even heard of. Gotta buy it. So it's 95. I'm like, 13. I watch this movie. I'm like, I guess it's supposed to be hilarious. I love it. Jim Carrey's great. This movie's fantastic. I don't know if I'd actually watched it again since then. So I recommended it thinking that you would hate it. Especially after you ripping on Silver Bullet last time. Like, I'm going to nail this fucker this time. And then I just shot myself in the foot. Because this movie is nowhere near as good as I remember it being.
Yeah, I was excited when you said we were going to watch this movie because I knew it. I watched it when I was younger with my dad. I remembered really enjoying it when I watched it as a younger kid.
Yeah.
And let's just say my expectations were not met. Man, we are not having luck with teenage vampire movies.
No, I know. We're going to have to take a break from it for a while, but
I think, in all fairness, you can never bring Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
No, I can't.
To me
admit
again
that.
After that.
Yeah, no, I have no firepower left for this anymore. But like even the title, Once Bitten, it doesn't apply to the movie.
Did you happen to look up the trivia on IMDb?
Briefly.
Do you see how they renamed this movie in like many different regions?
Every country has a different title.
And there was so many different titles. One of them was ridiculous. It was like Brazil called it like Virgin Wanted or something like that.
That makes more sense. It makes a lot more sense. I mean, you'd be better off calling this movie "Would You Bang a Vampire?"
But he never...
like, yeah, probably. I'd buy the movie on the title alone. You don't need Jim Carrey for that. I'd be like, would I? I don't know. Show me.
But
that raises so many questions, though.
He never actually bangs a vampire.
I know, that's fine. It's misleading, but so's once bitten, because the whole point is him getting bitten 3 times. And he gets bitten twice.
Oh, that's right.
Nobody's biting anybody once. And I guess it's not like a misleading title. I mean, it implies biting. I guess you just put a vampire on the cover. You're like, all right, that makes sense.
All right, so I pulled up that point on IMDb that I mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm going to read you the different regional titles that are listed here. I don't know if that's the full list or just what they have here. And you tell me which one of these you would have chosen over Once Bit.
Okay.
All right. So in France, it was called Vampires Forever.
All right.
In France, it was also known as Seduction Has Teeth.
Okay. Getting a little bit closer.
Okay, in Brazil, I was a little wrong. It was Virgin Boy Wanted.
It's accurate.
Argentina, I Love a Vampire.
Oh, I do, yeah.
But he doesn't love her.
No.
Okay. In Hungary, it was called Just One Bite.
Oh, we're going back to the original problem here.
Oh, don't worry. The best one is last.
Is it Would You Bang a Vampire? Because I called that one already.
No. In Poland, it was called Kiss Princess.
What?
I can't determine if the accuracy on IMDb is correct.
That's great, though. Kiss Princess. What's it about? 400-year-old vampire needs the blood of a virgin to stay young? Kiss Princess. Fucking box office. Imagine it.
I can't think of a better title. It's the problem. We rag on the title. I couldn't tell you what would be a better title.
I don't know. But one thing I will say is that this definitely lends itself to a sequel following the Countess. The story we'll get to.
Twice Shy.
Exactly. Now, doing the same thing, but having been bitten for the last attempt, doing it much more careful and much smarter. It's really a dramatic sequel to a teen horror sex comedy.
Yeah, this doesn't need a sequel. Let's get into the plot of this movie. I don't know where else we could take this.
All right. Well, we're doing notes a bit different here this time, so I'm just going to get right into a scene, and then we'll discuss it. We'll break it down. I'm not going to quote everybody. So the opening scene is at night in what appears to be West Hollywood in some horribly designed housing, but we're introduced to the characters of Sebastian, the Countess, and some minion vampires. The whole thing, Sebastian, played by Cleavon Little from Blazing Saddles, is prepping the vampire morning routine anyway for the Countess, which is getting a black rose, prepping a glass of blood as almost looks like a Bloody Mary or a Caesar, and taking it upstairs for the Countess, who awakens in her coffin, and it's revealed the Countess of the film is played by Lauren Hutton, who I believe mainly was a model but has done a fair amount of acting. But for some reason she's wearing workout gear and watching a tiny television inside. Because 80s?
Well, I think the TV is meant to show that she's, like, rich.
Well, yeah.
Right? And she, even if she's going to bed or waking up, she can watch some TV because she has to stay away from the sun.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Sebastian.
Yeah.
Not a vampire?
Has to be, right?
Familiar?
Yeah, maybe.
Because he's the one that's always putting them to bed or telling them to go to bed or waking them up, running all the routines. Never really does anything vampiric.
But also never see him during the day.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming that if that's your responsibility,
I guess, yeah.
you will sleep during the day. Not because you have to avoid the sun, but because you have to get some sleep at some point.
This is also the beginning of what becomes a series of gay jokes throughout the movie. Definitely dating it. He's a very flamboyant man. At one point, they even say, like, the countess enters the room later in the film, and she wanders in, she just goes, Sebastian, come out of the closet.
And he's like, I did that, centuries ago?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I guess he would have to be...
Is he a vampire?
I don't know. But there's that, and just random flirting, which is great, because, like, he's a strong representation of the character. I really enjoy his performance. It just sucks that he was lowered from his, like, height of amazing acting in the 70s and leading into the 80s, and then trailing off with stuff like this, mid-80s. The whole point of the scene is to establish the plot, which is the countess needs virgin blood, not once, not twice,
but thrice.
Exactly. The blood of a virgin 3 times before Halloween, which we're reminded is in 7 days. The problem...
less than 10 days.
He said
just over a week.
Just over a week. So
and she says less than 10 days when the other vampire lackeys come in.
Okay, so 8 or 9. It doesn't really matter.
No.
The problem here is that it's been almost a year and they haven't found a virgin.
It's Hollywood, man. Everybody is doing it.
All right.
I mean, that's the implication when the vampire lackeys come in and she's reprimanding them for not being able to... Because she's got an entire horde of vampires whose entire responsibility is to scour the land.
Yes.
Looking for a virgin.
Yeah.
And what could they... The closest we got was an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
And don't be sick.
But later in the film, she's like, I haven't had blood that pure since the Vienna Boys Choir was in town. I'm like, well, fucking there you go. What's the problem? You go after children, apparently. If it's that bad. And it's not like not getting the blood kills her. She just doesn't look as good. Fine. If that's like your main worry, you have a year. Go out of state. Like, you can travel. It's not a worry. And it's a massive plot hole in this very well thought out comedy that I shouldn't judge too hard.
Well, later in the movie, when she's getting a drink out of the fridge, she opens it, and there's like a dead pigeon in there. So, and it's got like bite marks in it. So,
yeah. Was it a virgin though?
I'm just saying, what are the rules? You can eat, you can have animal blood, you can have...
And that fridge is fucking stocked.
But none of it is virgin blood. That's what she needs.
Well, it's an exposition, I guess. We then cut to that same night, parking lot. We meet our protagonist, Mark Kendall, played by rubber-faced Jim Carrey, and his girlfriend, Robin, played by Karen Kopins? Kopins, we'll go with that. Kopins. Our wonderful hero is pressuring his girlfriend into sex when she doesn't want it.
Really pressuring her.
It's disturbing. And she keeps, like, they keep making out, and then she keeps stopping him. He gets angry. At one point, gets out of his, I should say, they're in his ice cream truck. Okay.
Is the ice cream on the truck supposed to look like a boob?
It does. I don't know if it's supposed to.
I feel like it's gotta be a pretty heavy-handed innuendo.
But even, like, before he gets out of the truck, a guy knocks on the window, interrupting them making out, and asks for, like, some sort of ice cream bar or something.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just an ice cream truck in the middle of a parking lot at night. There's no music playing. The lights aren't on.
You know how that would have made a little bit of sense? Make it that they're at a drive-in movie.
Yeah.
Same situation where cars are going to be parked for a reason rather than just inexplicably. And the parking lot is in front of like a manufacturing plant. Like you see these giant turbines going and stuff like that.
Well, it's like oil drillers.
Yeah. What's the romantic side of that? But anyway.
It's going up and down, pumping some oil.
Well, okay. Another innuendo. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
But if they were in a drive-in.
Yeah.
Right? Still a reason for all these cars to be parked. Everybody could still be getting it on.
Yeah.
And then if you saw a guy who was like, oh, an ice cream truck, maybe that's part of the movie theater concessions.
Yeah, for sure.
It would have made a little bit more
He's
sense.
just driving by on the highway. It's like, holy fuck, ice cream. Where's the next off-ramp? But yeah, Mark gets pissed at Robin for not wanting to have sex with him. That he gets out of the ice cream truck, slams the door, looks over to one side, and just sees this naked ass in the back of a convertible going up and down in unison with the oil driller. And sounds emanating, cars rocking. He starts looking around and realizes that every other car in the parking lot has a couple having sex in it. There's one small VW Beetle. I don't know if you noticed it, though. There's a woman's legs sticking out through the driver's side window, and the car's shaking. But there's nobody else in that car.
Yeah, the way that they film that, there's no possible way that somebody's on top of her.
No.
And I find it hilarious, the first guy, or the main focus that he sees of the guy having sex where he's on top is like, is he having sex with a trampoline? Because he seems to be getting, like, air every
definitely is. I also love that nobody listening can see this, but as he's talking about this guy's ass going up and down, is his arms going, like, jump around? But that's what it... No, that's the feeling you get. Like, yeah, it's just a weird follow-up to a strange intro. But it gets worse, because then we go to the burger joint the next day, where it's just Mark and his two friends, Russ and Jamie. And Mark's complaining about not getting laid. And then Russ tells him that there's the 6-year... Was it 6-year cutoff?
Yeah, 6-year cutoff.
If you don't have sex
in 6 years.
In the first 6 years of the relationship, the girl's like, well, what's the point?
So what's the point? And just doesn't.
6 years? Okay.
Hey, he's getting close. It's been 4.
It has been 4.
So, yeah.
I do like how Jamie in the back, who's flipping burgers, says, pressure to have sex is a driver's test for manhood. He wants nothing to do with it. And then Mark comes up with the skeeziest plan I think I've ever heard in a Jim Carrey movie. And there have been a few. And that is, maybe they should all just go out and find some weird women on the night on the town and just sleep with them. So that way it takes the pressure off and he can go back to Robin.
This is your protagonist, ladies and gentlemen.
I am stunned at this point.
I do like the little bit of foreshadowing where they really play up how he likes his burger really well done.
Yeah, like burnt. It's set on fire at one point.
Yeah. Did you notice that after it's set on fire and then Jamie puts them out with the fire extinguisher, at one point in the background, he just picks up a burger and starts like rubbing the fire extinguisher chemicals off with a towel? Like, he's going to feed that to somebody.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And at one point, Jim Carrey says, like, this is, like, the peak physical condition that I'm ever going to be in. And Jamie says, like, that's depressing. And I had that same thought. I'm like, yeah. Not to say that, like, oh, your life is over, but, like, in late high school, early college, you're probably peaking in your, like, how fit and physical and good looking you're going to be. And it's like, that's just sad. It's been downhill since then.
And we do know that 23-year-old Jim Carrey is a high school student in this movie. But we also are led to believe that his girlfriend, Robin, is also a high school student. She's 27.
Oh.
Yeah. Somehow still looks younger than Jim Carrey, though. Strange Courtney Cox vibes.
Oh, she's pretty cute.
She's great.
But, I mean, 80s movies. Show me an 80s movie where the people portraying a high school student were actually young enough to be in high school. It's always
80s movies,
egregious.
90s movies, 90s, early 2000s television. Apparently nobody expected her to be as popular as she was, though, and that's why they inserted her into the poster later on for the release. But she does steal the show at points. No?
No comment.
I see that's going to be in the awards. But yeah, the guys actually go through the plan and decide to go out for a night on the town in West Hollywood and try and pick up some crazy ladies.
In his ice cream truck.
Yeah, because we get a montage of them driving around Hollywood.
So enamored with the sights.
They're always laughing. Nothing's that fucking funny. I don't care who you are. Like, every shot you see of them is like giant smile. Like, you could fit your mouth in Jim Carrey's... your hand in Jim Carrey's mouth. He's smiling so big. They're laughing. They're all dressed up, which... is completely negated by the ice cream truck. And the sights we see make no sense other than like a couple of people dancing around. You see some punks walking by. Then you get a weird photo shoot that's happening. And then you see a woman walking a full-grown lion on a chain down the sidewalk.
Hollywood is weird, man.
That's why it's called Hollyweird, dude.
That's what they were going for.
They do end up passing 3 girls in a convertible, and they all kind of flirt back and forth. And then they, in their ice cream truck, follow the convertible to a club, and everyone pulls up to the valet parking. And the valet is just like, get the fuck out of here. Like, no.
I'm not parking.
And they look so confused and heartbroken, and they look over at the girls, and they're like, just go inside.
We have no reason to try and help you out.
So they do the next best thing, and they go to a club called Phone a Date.
You're telling me they had to go to Hollywood for this? They make fun of their town, saying that it's like a sexual wasteland. But this Phone a Date, like, completely lame, cheesy, like...
Dude, the people in this club, give me the wasteland. This is a nightmare.
This seems like the kind of club that would be in a small town that's desperate to try and create some sort of social environment.
No, okay, like the layout of the club is that there's a bunch of smaller tables that you can sit at with your chairs and have your drinks, but every table has a red phone, like that old cliche, shitty
pair of lips,
big telephone. And there's an illuminated number on your table. So what you could do is have a couple of drinks with your friends and look around the room and spot somebody at table whatever, and then you pick up the phone, you dial that table, and you have a chat and maybe hit it off, and then you can go hang out and have a couple of drinks. If you do that in a small town, everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
And it's just like picking up the phone and harassing people, like, what are the kids up to? How's Donnie? Home alone tonight? Everyone else is up picking up the phones, calling like table 11's like, Donnie's out tonight. They wouldn't work. And it doesn't, it's 1985 Tinder is what I called it when we were watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you look at the person, you see what they're doing, you call them up, get some info, and just fucking hang up. Oh my God, can you imagine being rejected at Phone a Date?
Oh, I mean,
I guess that's pretty much me all the time anyway. So yeah, I just answered my own question there.
You say that, like, you couldn't have this in a small town because everybody knows everybody. Doesn't stop them from trying to pick up girls in a laundromat later.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's
you're
easy.
Telling me you're telling me that that's not like, hey, there's my classmate's mother doing laundry.
And that's Russ's thing, too. Is like, I'm mature, you're mature.
He uses that line multiple
times. And here's where it turns out that that's the setup to a man in drag joke. Doesn't really fly so well. But this is also how Mark is contacted by the countess, and he goes over and meets her at the bar, and he's seduced there.
Yeah, I guess we should mention when they were driving through town, completely dumbfounded by the lights.
Yeah.
They were being spotted by, like, every single vampire, so they were essentially getting information to the countess, like, where he's going to be, and to go find him. We found you a virgin. Which somehow implies that the other 2 guys in the truck are not.
Well, there's a good chance one of the 3 of them in the ice cream truck is going to be a virgin.
Yeah, but, like, they're specifically zoning in on Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Right? Because even when the countess calls a table, she says, are you the one in the middle with the tie? Or she says that to Russ, and then he hands it over. So that implies that, yes, we were specifically targeting him. Meaning that Happen and Jamie and Russ must have at some point got...
I mean, I could see the joke play out that, like, Jamie ends up being actual ladies' man, or man's man, whatever, because he's so quiet and he's, like, the background character of the 3.
But that's not what happens.
That's not what happens at all. But we do end up back at the countess's house, where Mark falls victim. She goes to get ready, and before this happens, and he's just kind of left alone in the living room area. And I have my note written down here. It's saying, there's a full portrait, semi-nude portrait of the countess on the wall. And I have in my notes here, Mark, don't feel up the painting. Because the first thing he does is, like, runs his hand over a naked breast. And she catches him. And it just goes from awkward to worse. But eventually, yeah, he falls...
Through the entirety of their communications, he is a bumbling idiot who makes terrible passes. He asks her if she's a prostitute.
Yeah.
Where it's like, in any other situation, if she wasn't like a vampire trying to get virgin's blood, she would have shot him down so fast for so many of the... Like, when she's taking his pants off, he's like, oh, there's a picture of my family. Oh, my mother. It's like, dude.
Shut up, man.
He does a terrible job lying, saying he's 21, he's an electrical engineer who's studying the acid in the rainforest. It's like, she doesn't care. But if she did, you would be failing miserably.
Yeah.
Although I do find it interesting, when she calls him over in the bar, and he asks her, can I buy you a drink? She says, I was hoping you would share my champagne. You know, you never actually see her drinking it.
Yeah.
So really, it's her way of just covering up that she's not drinking the alcohol.
Yeah, that's a good point. And speaking of the alcohol, we have to bring up something that I thought was a mistake in the movie, but was straight up planned. And that's when they first get to phone a date, and the three guys sit down at the table. Russ says, get us 3 beers all around. I was like, did he just order 9 beers for the table?
Yeah.
Like, or does he mean like 3 beers, like one for each of us? I'm like, that must be it. It's just worded poorly. The next time we see them, there's over like 10 bottles of beer on the table. Like, holy shit, he ordered 3 beer for everybody right away.
I think the idea is that
they've been failing.
Yeah,
the whole
regardless
night.
if the phrasing was correct on what he ordered, they've been failing until they do succeed. We didn't even talk about how Russ and Jamie get called over by 2 older ladies.
Yes.
And they think they're finally going to score until one of the ladies, I guess husband, shows up to catch his floozy of a wife.
Well, he knows that she's been cheating on him.
Well, he says, like, oh, yeah, I finally found you, Chester. I found the letters you wrote her. And he's like, I'm Jamie. I don't know how
he's like this kid. And then the husband pulls out a gun. The bouncer grabs them. The gun goes off into the ceiling. People are screaming, running all over the place. And then it cuts to this one guy on his hands and knees under the table, still on the phone, saying, no, it happens all the time.
It happens all the time. And Jim Carrey wants to help his friends.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's the allure of the vampire that she essentially just says don't and like looks him in the eye.
You see that for sure.
Just sits down and stops because they can't afford to go to jail. Or at least that's what she's saying to him to try and get him to get out of there.
And I think this is part of the reason why we can excuse him being such an idiot at her house is because he is like drunk already. So that's part of it. He's also just
awkward.
Super
He's
awkward.
an awkward teen.
Yeah. We meet some of the other vampires here too, down like the vampire bunk area.
Nah, I don't know.
It's just sleeping quarters. And you just see that she's been
with coffins.
She's been turning virgins for centuries. So there's jokes about vampires from different time periods. You've got a Confederate, which is weird.
Did you ever stop to think there's 2 female vampires?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
So I guess she seduced 2 lesbians.
Just need virgin blood. Yeah, the World War I era fighter pilot's odd, but then there's like the twins. I forget their names. Oh, yeah, it's because none of these people have names.
No,
I looked it up.
No,
in
if
the
you
credits.
look, it's Vampire Twin 1,
Confederate vampire, Mall Flanders vampire, World War I aviator era vampire. It sucks. Like, just give them names so they could like put that on their resume.
Another shot of foreshadowing though, because they're complaining to Sebastian. Why is this new guy going to get this giant deluxe coffin? Oh, 80s kids of this era, they're fancy, they need all their extra space.
Luxury.
Yes, which ends up coming in handy later on.
Definitely. Mark eventually wakes up on the couch, uncertain about what happened. This is after a conversation between the countess and Sebastian, talking about what had happened, and that's where the Vienna Boys Choir statement comes from. But Mark's just asleep on the couch, pants around his ankles, stretching and twisting around like a cat having a nap. But wakes up not knowing anything that had happened and is reassured that they did everything. Everything happened, blah, blah, blah. And then he's sent on his way. But this is where he brings up the prostitute thing. Because
no, he brings up the prostitute thing when they.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
there.
a prostitute. Right? Because he said, "I can be whatever you want me to be." He's like, "Good, because I only have $5."
I only have $5. So if you were a prostitute or not, I might have just insulted you.
No, this is where he comes clean about Robin. The countess says she doesn't mind being the other woman.
She's been the other woman a number. There are so many red flags. Like, in the bar, he's like, do you come here often? She's like, only when I'm on the prowl.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, read the room. You should not be messing with this woman.
I'm pretty sure Robin's been his only girlfriend, though. He has no social development whatsoever. And it proves it, because the next thing he does is he runs back after getting to his ice cream truck. He runs back and gives Sebastian and the Countess ice cream. Little ice cream bars.
Start your day with a smile.
Yep.
When they're shooing him out of the building, essentially.
Yeah.
Because the Countess says to Sebastian, like, or Sebastian says he's not ready to go down with the vampires who are going to be supposedly mentoring him for the first 100 years or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, what are we going to do with him? Oh, just let him go and get his strength back. Tired blood is not good blood or whatever. But continuing his goofiness, they're leaving and he's like, did I enjoy it?
Yeah. Even the look on his face when Sebastian hands him the orange juice, it's like
he just chugs that thing.
Oh yeah,
just like when you go and donate blood. What do they do? They give you orange juice and a cookie. Well, you didn't get a cookie, but
yeah. Well, when I went, they didn't give me juice. They pointed where the juice was. Horrible idea. I'm like halfway to the table of juice, and I lose vision completely. So I'm just stumbling around, feeling my way towards this like table of like, I think it's like chocolate chip cookies and orange juice. I like half knock over the basket of cookies before someone grabs me and holds me upright.
Yeah, maybe don't do that.
Yeah, don't drain a person of blood and then point off in the distance. Be like, go over there. Assholes. At school the next day, Mark meets up with the boys.
Technically 2 days later.
2 days later. And in the cafeteria, he asks for a burger, but he wants one of the rare ones. And then just straight up asks for one of the raw burgers.
I like the look on the cafeteria lady's face. This is a character we only see for this 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But the way she looks at him like, boy, you crazy.
I don't get, I get the burger jokes. But, from the very beginning, we have to imply, okay, he has to go from one, eating hamburgers to, slowly eating raw meat until he's just, it's just uncooked, just a slab of meat. But he doesn't like burgers in the first place. He just likes eating charred shit. So he's not really, eating the meat. I don't know. And then, the next time we see him eat a burger, it's just a bloody raw burger.
It's not gradual. It's not like, as he's transforming. It's just from one extreme to the other.
As the boys are asking him about all of the juicy details, talks about how he doesn't really remember anything, blah, blah, blah. And it comes up that, Robin's actually sitting at the table behind him with her back to him, which you think you would notice.
You think either of the guys would have noticed, because before Jim Carrey sat down, that side of the table is empty. Meaning they're
direct
looking
line of sight.
Right at her.
I don't know. And one bit of logic in the movie, she's pissed off and breaks up with him after an argument.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
I love how, again, our valiant protagonist is trying to explain himself. He's like, come on, I was drunk.
No, that's later. That's the next argument they have, because I have that written down for sure.
Okay, but, in this one, he still says, I don't even remember what happened.
Yeah.
This was Russ's idea.
Oh, yeah, definitely blame your friends.
Yeah, he tries anything except for saying that it was him.
And the weird thing about blaming Russ is that it is actually Mark's idea. He suggested it, and Russ is like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's lying directly to her face, trying to incriminate one of his best friends.
Throw him under the bus.
Exactly. God damn it, Mark.
Why do we keep watching movies where the protagonists are just not that likable?
I think we've been looking at this wrong the whole time. I think the protagonists in our movies are just terrible people. We do get a funny scene next of Mark dissecting a frog in bio lab.
Yeah. And
the teacher questions him, Mark, what are you doing? He's like, I'm dissecting this frog.
Obviously.
Yeah. And then the teacher's like, Mark, you're not in this class.
I mean, it was kind of funny, because then he, like, kind of tucks the frog back.
He stuffs the organs back inside and, like, folds the stomach back over. He's like,
it's still good.
Good as new. But, like, there's an entire class sitting in front of him.
Just watching him dissecting a frog.
Yeah. And it's when the teacher calls him out that they all start giggling. I'd be like, I don't know what he's doing in front of us right now. He's just hacking up a frog. So, there's no teacher here. I'm just going to leave. And I think people would follow suit.
Bit by a vampire make him stupid?
Oh, yeah. It definitely made him stupid.
You forgot your school schedule.
Cut to his house, where his father walks into his bedroom, and Mark climbs out of the trunk at the foot of his bed. Apparently, that's where he's sleeping now. He doesn't sleep at night. He's up pacing around the house at all hours, and has weird dreams of the countess that kind of turn into nightmares. They're terrible. I mean, the set design, art design, all of it's terrible. And we didn't need one, let alone multiple. Yeah, here we have the next argument at school between Mark and Robin, where Mark says it's not fair because he was drunk. And my next note is, she forgives him.
Way too easily.
He
doesn't really even say anything that would make her change her mind.
No, he just complains more and blames more and avoids responsibility.
He forgives her.
That's right.
Because she says, I was worried that the reason that you did it was because I was holding out on you.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, yeah, kinda.
That's what you're
supposed to do. It's like, how generous of you to forgive her for not putting out.
Yeah, well, it's like, you're a teen high school girl. You're supposed to say no, and I'm a teenage high school guy. I'm supposed to get angry and annoyed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's true, Mark.
No, not at all.
No, but thank God he forgave her. And
at one point she says, like, I think I even want it more than you do. And he's just like, that's not possible. I went to Hollywood and tried to get with a vampire. That's not possible.
Yeah, no. I've made some bad choices based off of our situation.
Yeah.
The Countess and Sebastian decide it's time to look for Mark because she's craving more blood and time's running out.
Well, I don't know why you would want to space it out. If you got to get 3 bites before Halloween.
Yeah, like, do you have to wait?
I mean, she did say she doesn't want tired blood. And obviously, you have to wait some period of time. But if I'm under the gun like that, where it's like, I have 9 days, like...
Fuck, if I have 9 days...
Where's your sense of urgency?
You knock them out.
Yeah, don't let him go home.
No,
he's sleeping on the couch. You've got like
just get a fucking IV drip. Get those nutrients back in that body.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing, yes. There probably needs to be a period of time for him to develop more blood, right? Replenish, absolutely. Yeah. But, like, you see later, she has a chair with, like, stirrups and straps. Like, honestly, if you're that desperate and time is of the essence, when he falls asleep, just throw him in, like, a dungeon or tie him up or something. Force feed him food and then drain the blood. What do you, like... Why are you gambling with this?
That would be a very different movie.
Yes. Yes, it would. It would be a very different movie.
It would be a very depressing movie. It's like...
You know what the worst
Who wants to watch an hour-and-a-half movie of a vampire slowly torturing and murdering a teenager? Bill 20.
I mean,
I probably would.
Between that and what we actually got. Which one are you watching?
I
think the big error that I made was trying to elicit... logic into the ongoings of this movie, because that's not the case.
I'm trying to remember why 13-year-old me thought this movie was hilarious and fantastic, because I didn't understand a bit of it.
There's 3 times that I laughed, and none of them have happened yet.
Yeah. Mark, Russ, and Jamie go to the laundromat, like you mentioned before, for the sole reason of picking up women.
Yeah, because Russ and Jamie just seem to try and pick up adult women.
Yep. And Russ says this is the best spot to do it because you get to see their underwear first and judge from there. Fuck all 3 of these guys, man. Oh, they are all terrible.
Yeah, but Mark doesn't go with them to laundromat. He just drives with them because I guess it's also connected to the mall where Robin works, and he wants to go visit Robin.
Yeah, so maybe he might not be as bad. These are his best. These are his best friends, though.
Bad. Yeah.
It's like, I have to go cheat on my girlfriend, or you guys go to the laundromat and try and pick up women.
Putting money down on the fact that if they went to that phone place and he didn't find a vampire and went home empty-handed, he'd be in the laundromat with them still trying.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
And no matter what, Jamie would still end up in a dryer.
That was pretty good.
It was pretty good. Mark visits Robin at work. It seems to be she works at a mall, at a clothing store in a mall. They have a kiss, and in doing so, he accidentally bites her lip, and then accuses her of being too sweet. Oh, you shouldn't be so sweet. Like, she complains like that's. You're still passing the buck over something like that. Like, you bit me. Obviously, your fault.
And then we see that, along with his gradual eating raw meat, he goes there. He's like, "Oh, I want to buy these pants. They're black." And you see that it's also contributing to his changing wardrobe.
Yeah. And Robin agrees to let him go try them on, and she's going to find some sweaters some bright sweaters to balance out the black.
Yeah.
But when he gets inside, the countess is already in there.
How did she know he was going to be in there?
I don't know.
Imagine that she's just sitting in there for like an hour, and other people are coming into the change room. It's like, yo.
And that's the thing too, because we see that as she's leaving, Sebastian's been there the whole time just looking at the racks. So you think Mark would notice that immediately, because it's not that large of a store.
The thing is, and I love how they actually did this, when Mark goes into the change room, you can't see the countess in the mirror reflection.
Yeah.
Right? Simple camera trick, you just don't have her when you're cutting to that scene. But
great use of angles too.
But if somebody else came into that change room that wasn't Mark, and saw this woman, and then saw that she wasn't reflecting in the mirror.
I don't know. You find out she's actually been there for a while, like you said, and people have just abandoned that change room because every 20 minutes there's someone in there going, "What the fuck?"
Maybe they were screaming because Robin was throwing them these ugly sweaters.
They're the ugliest fucking sweaters I've ever seen.
Hey, she wants to balance out the black.
You don't do it with pastel blues or pinks.
Like really puffy sweaters.
Yeah.
Not even in the 80s.
It's her job, too. She works in a clothing store.
Well, yeah, I mean, if she was selling mostly women's clothes, fine.
Yeah.
Because those really did look like women's pastel sweaters.
Yeah, and it didn't make any sense, because you don't see people dressed like that in any 80s movie I've seen. And growing up in the 80s, I never saw people wear shit like that. It's weird she picked that up for her boyfriend.
Balance out the black.
I guess. What do I have next here?
Well, there's the whole laundromat scene.
Which we already did.
Well, we didn't really talk about it too much.
We've covered this. Oh yeah, the falling out with Robin again. In the clothing store.
Right, because he's arguing with essentially the countess. And we're doing one of these cliche, mistaken identity, I'm talking to the countess, but Robin can hear me. She thinks that I'm snipping at her, and she gets mad at me.
Yeah, she's throwing the sweaters over into the change room. The countess is looking at them and throwing them back over.
The countess has the right idea on that. She grabs the sweater.
Thanks for the interference on that one.
Yeah,
that's fine.
You saved me here. I love how she's even like, if the next one is pink, I'm going to throw up. And the next sweater over is this pink puffy sweater. It's like, oh, yeah.
But, Robin storms off after that, and that's when the countess goes for the second feeding.
Well, yeah.
And Mark does his ow thing again, and hits the floor, and he's bare legs with sneakers sticking up from under the change room. Robin runs over.
These feedings must be super quick.
Yeah, definitely. I don't get it, and it seems like it's supposed to be time-consuming, but no. Yeah, and as the countess leaves, she sneaks past Robin, who's helping Mark up and doing up Mark's
good
pants
diversion.
for him. Great diversion. Yeah. She goes and grabs Sebastian, and on her way out, she's so angry at Robin that she just shoves an old woman into a clothing rack and knocks it over.
I laughed hard.
I laughed hard too.
I mean, I'm sorry if pushing over an old lady is inappropriate, but it's hilarious.
It was great. It's probably the best sight gag in the movie.
I did laugh as well, because during this whole thing, they are cutting to the laundromat. We see Russ is using the exact same shitty pickup line, which works, and he backs away. Which also makes me think, there's no way this guy isn't also still a virgin, because when his pickup line actually works, he runs away.
It always works. Just not the way he wants it to.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's true, because it did work again with the crossdresser.
Yeah.
But then he found out it was a crossdresser. But then you see that Jamie, who is hitting on a woman, is in the background in a dryer, spinning around. And Russ asks him, how did it go? How do you think it went?
It's great. She had to put me in here to dry out. Fuck.
Can you imagine if you tried to hit on a woman and she wasn't interested? Your punishment was getting shoved into a dryer? You know, a simple no would have sufficed.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's only funny because it's Jamie.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they could have done a lot more of that character, because he plays that like tiny character so well. Definitely personality is overpowered by Russ.
Yeah.
And he's just there for, like, not even comedic relief, but almost the voice of reason, who just gets shut down because this is a comedy. We don't need your reasoning here.
Yeah.
Next is breakfast at the Kendall house. Mark wearing full black now, sunglasses. I have no sunglasses yet, but his hair is slicked back. His mother's concerned because he's looking pale, wants to make him a burger for breakfast.
An egg burger.
Egg burger.
Did you see the size of the patties she was working with?
Yeah, I need that. That's great.
She's holding like this dome of meat.
It's great.
And she just puts one burger right there. It's like, that's like 3 pounds of beef.
It's great.
But she had drained out the beef first into a glass.
Yeah.
So there's a glass of essentially beef blood.
Beef blood. Mark's drinking his orange juice.
That's what he pours.
Orange juice. He is, like, sipping at it a bit. His father comes in, complains about jogging, also agrees to have an egg burger. And then he says he wants to talk to his son.
Way.
And then Mark is on his way out. He has to get to work, and his mother reminds him to finish his juice. So he doubles back, grabs the glass of blood, slams it, puts the glass down, and leaves. But you were saying nobody what?
No way that dad, who's trying to get in shape by jogging, is eating one of those egg burgers.
No way that dad's jogging. Like, it looked like all of that sweat in his sweater and thing was from him putting his shoes on. It's like he gets ready to go and then hides in the backyard and comes back like a half hour later. He's like, whoa.
What is that? That's the grease from the egg burger.
While sitting in the ice cream truck, 2 kids approach Mark and ask for, like, I forget, like a
push pop and something. But they ask him for ice cream.
And he goes to get them and then turns around and hisses at the kids.
Why?
I don't know, but they just drop their bikes and run away screaming. And then he checks the mirror, the side mirror of the truck, and he's got fangs.
Yes.
Needless scene.
Yes.
It's not funny. It's not character building. It's not developing a plot any further. And it doesn't need to be there for padding's sake, because the movie's an hour and a half long.
He doesn't get aggressive at any point.
No.
Like, it's not like turning into a vampire made him, like, start craving, like, human blood at any point. Like, that's not something they played up at all. Maybe a little bit with the biting the lip on the kiss. But all of a sudden, he's just hissing at kids.
Yeah.
At his job that, like, does he own this ice cream truck? Is he an independent employee?
I have no idea. He drives it everywhere. It has to be his, right? I don't know. I have no idea. We'll just go with it, because we have no reference of him, like, reporting to anybody. But then he'd be like a high school entrepreneur with his own ice cream truck. He doesn't really seem that capable.
Ice cream truck that's shaped like an ice cream cone is just one step away from a sheepdog van.
There we go. I like how you linked those together. Mark goes to confession.
Another needless scene.
And he, as he's walking down the aisle, a homeless drunk man pops up and excuses him thinking he's a priest, and then offers him a drink from his paper bag. Reminds me of that Mitchell & Webb look. Here, have a drink from my sack. It's homeless guys drinking beer. But But Mark turns him down and goes into the confessional booth, and the drunk man goes into where the priest would be. I forget what that's called.
The confessional.
Confessional, sure. Mark speaks his piece about what's going on, what's been happening, and then you just have the drunk go, "You're going to need a shovel because you're in deep shit."
Yeah.
Okay. Needless scene. I looked up in the trivia, and there was an alternate line. Did you see that?
Sure did.
Can you hand me some toilet paper? We're out on my side.
Yeah, apparently it was cut because they were worried that they would get, like, ragged on by the Catholic
That's
Church.
hilarious. I love that line so much more, but you don't need either.
None of this needs to be there.
We get another nightmare sequence where the countess coaxes Mark into a room to feed off of Robin. Don't need it. Because that never goes that direction. The story itself doesn't. Other than these dream sequences, there's no reason to expect Mark to go after Robin.
No.
I
don't even know why the Countess is pissed off at Robin. Because up until this point, where, the Countess is angry with her and pushes an old lady, Robin is just arguing with her boyfriend.
Kill her. Just kill her.
But why is she even mad?
I don't know why she's mad.
You know she has a boyfriend. Or, sorry. You know that Jim Carrey's character has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know she doesn't know who you are. She knows about you, obviously. And they're arguing in the store, and she's like, oh, she's starting to piss me off. It's like, what'd she do?
Just call the movie The Vampire's Inconvenience.
Like, it must have been the pink sweater.
That's what set her off. She's like, now I'm going to invade this motherfucker's dreams, and I'm going to convince him to kill his girlfriend.
She offered that pink sweater, and now I can't let her go anymore.
Yeah. We next go to the Halloween dance.
Pre-Halloween dance.
Oh, the pre-Halloween hop.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have to make a point of that because, obviously, this is not the last day to get the third bite.
Yeah. Everyone thinks that Mark's dressed as a vampire. He was supposed to go as Jack. And Robin's already dressed as Jill, and she's upset about that. And he says, well, maybe just tell them that Jack couldn't get it up after the fall. Okay line. Okay line. I chuckled. Half of the people at this dance look like they should be in high school. And half look like the grandparents of the kids that are at this high school.
Hey, that's more than most of these 80s.
It's true, but it's noticeable. It's like they got some guys from like a World War II movie set to just fill in as extras.
Soundstage over.
Yeah.
What are you guys filming? A nursing home scene? Yeah, come on over here anyway.
But we do get one of the best scenes of the movie, in my opinion, here, and that is the dance-off.
Okay. Between
the Countess and Robin, with Mark in the middle, to the song Hands Off. I believe that's what it's called. It's definitely in the chorus.
Oh.
How do you feel about the dance scene?
It's like totally 80s cliche. It's just gotta be there.
But this is where...
Hey, at least they weren't on bicycles.
You leave Rad out. I know you're wearing a Rad racing shirt. I like that. But that BMX dance is beautiful.
No.
But this is where Carrey really kills it. And this is where we see the Jim Carrey that we know now.
Yeah, because up until now, they've kept him very restrained in doing the rubber facing that made him famous.
Yeah, and like he's known for his physical comedy, and this is just situational comedy up until this point. So you get him dancing, you get him playing like the leg guitar. The first thing of the dance, the first move is Robin pushing him, and he falls flat on his back. But he lowers himself down with his legs so well that it looks like an actual impact, but it's just him having complete control over his body.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. And he's rubber legging, like you said, all over the place at times.
I think that this dance scene is actually the first hint that we get that the one thing that can kind of overtake that, like, vampire sexual power is Robin's, like, sexual allure. Because the whole dance scene is telling a story of them fighting over him. And you can see that the one thing is that when Robin, she takes off another layer of her dress, shirt, costume,
rips
or whatever,
the skirt off completely.
It gets Jim Carrey's attention, and they're vying back and forth. And it's like, yes, as powerful as a vampire is, and it has this almost like hypnotic, telepathic ability to control him and allure him. But it gets weakened in the moments where Robin is really pushing forward towards him.
Yeah, but the problem with this, I find, and through the entire film, the problem with the situation that we're watching break down here or unfold here is that Robin's opinion hasn't changed on sex. She's not ready. She doesn't want to have it right now, but she's losing.
Well, she does, but she wants to be special.
So stripping in front of your school, I don't really think applies. But she's realizing that the more she gives in, the more she'll hang on to him. So it doesn't feel like the more she wants to, it's the more she has to stop the countess from stealing her boyfriend.
So now not only is Mark pressuring her into sex, now so is the movie and the vampire.
Exactly.
Robin, your days are numbered.
That is a massive problem.
You are a
with the movie.
victim in this movie.
The entire time. But also comes across as one of the strongest characters, but is constantly being forced to give in.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
And somehow the countess loses and just storms off. Again. Drag her out back and kill her. Problem solved. Drag him back to your house.
Well, and that's just
almost Halloween.
They clearly indicate that the vampire countess needs virgin blood 3 times to stay young. But there's nothing saying that she doesn't enjoy blood otherwise. Feed on Robin.
Yeah. Does it have to be in succession? And normally, because she's waking up drinking blood in the morning. I don't know. And here's another thing too. Because in the very beginning of the film, when the countess is woken up with the glass of blood, she does the taste test, and like a rare vintage wine, she calls out different elements of it.
17th century peasant,
Austrian peasant.
Yeah, whatever. Right?
Yeah. So they're saving it. They have a stockpile. You're not going to find 17th century Austrian peasant blood just randomly in Hollywood. Stock up that virgin blood, man.
Why are you...
shouldn't be a new thing. It's not like you just found out.
Why do you want them to off Robin?
I don't know. Never mind.
Russ and Jamie are right there.
Still in doubt. We don't know what's going on in their lives, but I think we have a decent idea. Mark wins best costume for his vampire outfit, and he just gets angry and storms off. Anyway, notices that he's losing his reflection in the mirror. Cliche, sure. I don't need any of this shit in the movie. And that's when he tells Robin that he thinks the countess is turning him into a vampire.
Yes.
I mean... a lot's happened up to this point. What sealed the deal? Was it just the reflection?
I mean, it's probably a big part of it for Robin, because as much, if he just said to Robin, I think she's turning me into a vampire, I'd be like, you're crazy, and coming up with anything.
Yeah, but this is the first time he sees it.
But she also sees his reflection disappear.
Yeah.
So now it's okay, clearly you're right, something is amiss.
Yeah, but you think he would have picked up... There's enough similarities to vampirism happening in his life. You think he would have noticed that right away. I'm eating raw meat now. I sleep in a box. I don't like sunlight. I'm pale. I'm wearing all things black. I'm drinking blood.
I mean,
I'm hissing at children and growing fangs. Holy shit, no reflection. Vampire.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much that he's just realizing it now. I think he's more just admitting it to himself after a long period of denial.
No, that's too much character growth.
Okay, sorry.
Robin agrees to help and goes to a bookstore to learn more about vampires. The only note I have written down here is this bookstore owner is fucking hilarious. I don't know what his shtick is. I don't know what that accent is. He's got some zingers. Did you catch it? Is that's not your memorable line, is
random, it? No.
Where he's talking about, she's like, what if...
hypothetically, an 18-year-old is a virgin.
Yeah, is a virgin, and then the vampire needs his blood. It's like, well, that'd be very difficult, because finding an 18-year-old who's a virgin today is impossible. She's like, well, hypothetically, let's say it is. It's like, well, then I think a vampire is the least of his worries. Concerns.
No, I'm pretty sure the vampire would still be the biggest concern.
Yeah. Robin confronts Russ and Jamie, telling them that Mark he's sick, and that he might have some sort of a disease.
A venereal disease.
A venereal disease.
Well, that's what Russ says, yeah.
And then the two guys just look at each other and snicker.
Well, because the bookstore owner told her that she would need to look for fang marks on the artery of his thigh.
Yeah.
Which honestly it might have been one of the most clever pieces of writing in this movie. Because obviously
undeniably. The
seduction causes the erection, causes the blood flow to that area, and then you're hitting the artery by the leg where that blood flow is going to be at, its highest.
Well, yes.
And then tells, the guys, see if you can find these sores in his inner thigh.
They go about this the worst way possible.
The worst way possible.
But they agree to help her out and in turn helping out their friend. And they decide the best way to see if he's got puncture wounds on his inner thigh is to confront him by surprise in the shower of the
public shower
at the school, in the gym shower.
And it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Because Russ grabs him and says, now, Jamie, now.
Yeah.
And Jamie was in the middle of scrubbing his eyeballs with soap. He's got soap all over his face.
But we have to bring up the point, too, that there's bars going across the lower portion of the shower that would block out any shot of, the groin or anything. So it'd be, where you would hang your soap and stuff like that. So Jamie's eyes are completely covered in soap. Russ has Mark from behind, arms around, a bear hug from behind, struggling. Mark's freaking the fuck out. He's doing what's going on. And all soapy eyes, Jamie's on his knees, trying to get in as close to his groin as possible. And every other guy in the shower freaks out. I mean, horrible things are said. Many poor taste, but
would not pass today.
No. But the look on Mark's face is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
He's just so
confused.
Lost and confused.
So then it just cuts to them at the burger joint again. The three of them, I believe that's the next one.
And this continues the terrible trend because they're talking, Jamie and Russ, about how the whole school thinks that they're homosexuals.
Yeah.
And it's the end of the world.
Nothing could be worse for these two guys.
Nothing.
And specifically Jamie.
Actually, Jamie, yes. Because Russ is what's the big deal? Who cares what they think?
Yeah.
And Jamie's just
devastated.
My life is over.
And then Mark just goes...
Actually, this was the scene that I liked Russ the most.
Yeah.
Because he literally was who cares what people think?
Yeah.
Right? It's not that big of a deal if people think we're gay. And Jamie's we might as well just move in together and get him towels. It's dude, calm
down, man. But keep in mind, though, this is Russ from Phone a Date. This is a very different characteristic for Russ.
That's why I said this is the scene where I liked him the most.
Yeah, but that character, that flip-flops right there, and doesn't make sense. But in this scene,
it would have made more sense if it was Russ freaking out.
Yeah. Based
on the character traits we've seen thus far, with Russ clearly having this big affront of being a ladies' man.
Yeah.
Especially in the laundromat, where you see where he's presented the opportunity to have sex with this, laundromat lady, and he buckles, right? He's all about persona and image. It would make more sense if he was the one freaking out, and then Jamie...
As we said, Jamie's the most rational of them, would be it doesn't matter.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Right? Great writing... If you want to show that,
flip
flip it over, yeah.
But you've got Mark, who's just why didn't you just ask me?
Yeah. Did you
that's what sets them off?
Because that's the thing that I don't understand, right? He says to Robin, I think she's turning me into a vampire. So it's not like it's a secret to him. Why didn't Robin just go to Jim Carrey and be hey, you think she's turning you into a vampire? It says here that there would be bite marks on your inner thigh. Let's look to confirm. Why would you want that to be a secret?
Why go to his friends? Be guys, your best friend is fucking weird. Something's going on. I need you to spy on him and find out if he's got puncture wounds in his inner thigh. How you do that's completely up to you. Not suggesting you do it in the shower or anything.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's almost like Robin
skip that
wants
scene
it to be
altogether.
a secret.
It just makes for...
Jim Carrey knows.
Yeah, it's 80s sex comedy. That's the only explanation.
I mean, if Jim Carrey was entirely in denial, and in the dance scene in the hallway after, only Robin sees that he doesn't have a reflection, then it would make more sense because she's like, okay,
I don't want to
approach this cautiously because he is in denial and I don't want to freak him out. But he is fully in the know.
Yeah. No, it's just for the sake of sight gags.
Yes. But during the entirety of this scene, we see Robin was heading towards the burger place.
Yeah.
She gets stopped by Sebastian, who's at his van in the distance.
I missed this entire scene.
Not van. Limousine.
Yeah.
Limousine. And from a distance, Jim Carrey sees her getting in the limousine with Sebastian and runs after her.
Yeah. And this is where the boys, I guess, try and sneak in.
Well, they gotta go save Rob.
They gotta save her. So they try and approach the property... in
an ice cream truck.
In an ice cream truck.
Which
the least conspicuous vehicle ever. It has fucking bells on the top that when it moves will still jingle.
Yep.
So they basically announce their arrival, but
somehow nobody notices. They get into the basement and to Robin.
Oh, no one's going to notice those bells when they don't notice Russ punch through a window to unlock it from the inside. I don't know. At this point, these guys, like, on their rescue mission, I kind of like all of them. I don't know why, but we've removed them from, like, real-life scenarios so we can just have fun with these ridiculous characters in a supernatural environment.
Yeah.
They do find...
well, before they find Robin, Jamie keeps saying things like, I need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And not even quietly at all. They're like, shh, quiet. Yeah. Like, we're sneaking into a vampire den.
Yeah,
Shut up.
I love Russ going, just tie it off. It's like, I'm sorry, when I'm scared, I can't help it. But then, then they do find Robin, who's like just around the corner, basically.
Yeah.
And untie her. But they get caught. Because
a very obvious trap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next we get what they've proclaimed to be the unveiling, which is your chair with stirrups.
Yeah.
Like you said, just tie him up there in the first place. And I just have here, is the chair necessary? It is if you were smart.
Yeah.
From the beginning. Yeah, it would be. Because, of course, they just rescue Mark and try to escape again.
Couple of good scenes in that, or moments in that.
Well, it's a chase scene montage.
No, I mean before the chase scene.
Oh, okay.
Because they put him in the chair, and he's trying to fight them off, but it's like 4 vampires or whatever. Yeah. And at one point he's like, all right, now I'm mad. And they just push him back down into the chair, because what are you going to do? But we get the whole thing where the 3, now at this point, Robin, Russ, and Jamie are the 3, saviors.
Yeah.
Jump, grab torches, and Robin's using her cross necklace, and she's holding it out to try and fend off the vampires. And you get the moment where the countess is like, please, that cross stuff, that's from movies.
I'm an atheist.
And then you just see a torch wave at her, and she's like, fire on the other hand.
That was great acting from Lauren Hutton.
Yes.
That was really, we both cracked up at that.
Yeah, and then they hold the vampires at bay with the torches, and you get a very noble moment from the friends.
Yeah.
Right? Again, wondering where the personalities of Russ and Jamie from the first 2/3 of the movie came from, where they're like, they don't want us, they want you, get out of here, we'll hold them back as long as we can. Right? And it's like, this is very valiant for these 2 guys.
And that's what I'm saying. I love all of these characters at this point in the movie, because everything we know about them before
doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
No.
You can pretend none of it happened.
Yeah.
It is a weird chase scene, though.
And then eventually the vampires are like, it's just a torch. And one of them from the side just like, blows it out. It's like, oops.
And the best part about that is that they force the door open.
Yeah.
And Jamie and Russ are just standing there, and
they're pinned between the wall and the door.
And nobody pays any attention to them. They just rush past.
Except for the 2 females.
2 women.
Yes.
And then just disrobe immediately.
No.
Oh, wait, no.
You missed a fantastic part of it. Because
it's the Russ isn't the line again?
As they walk towards Russ and Jamie, who are pinned between the wall and the door, and like Russ and Jamie don't know how to react. Because it's like, okay, yeah, the other vampires ran by us. We're safe in that regard. But these two are clearly set focus on us. And you just hear Jamie go, can one of you show me to the bathroom? It's playing up
I missed that completely.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one thing they say before it cuts to the... Because they cut back later to the two female vampires disrobing for them.
Yeah.
But it's the one last line that's said before they go to the chase scene. You just hear Jamie with like a door grate stuffed against his face. Like, can one of you show me to the bathroom? Because he's scared.
I think there's a few points in this scene where we actually laughed. We, like, undeniably found it funny.
Yeah.
For me, was when Mark and Robin find that, like, chute they can slide down.
Yeah.
And Mark slides down and he screams, and Robin slides down and screams, and then one of the vampires jumps down after them and he just hisses the entire way.
Yeah. You know what I find so weird about this scene? The strength of the vampires in this movie is very inconsistent.
Oh, it depends on the scene.
Yes, because in this scene, there's parts where a vampire jumps through, like, concrete stairs and through a wall. But then there's other parts, like back in the dance scene, where the Countess and Robin are tussling.
Yeah.
And they're, like equally strength. It's like, shouldn't the Countess, like, throw her across the room?
But even, like, after the three slide down that tunnel thing, Mark grabs a 4x4 and breaks it over the vampire's back. The vampire hisses at him, and then Robin just decks him in the face and knocks him out cold.
Did you read the trivia fact on that?
She actually hit him and knocked the fake teeth out?
Yeah.
Also,
I wonder if that was the accident. She knocked him out, and they were like, "Oh yeah, let's keep it in. That was good."
Yeah, we're shooting on film here, boys. This costs.
Yeah, and during this, it does cut back to Russ and Jamie, and Russ is using his shitty pickup line for the third time.
Yeah, and through more of the chase scene, though, you see Mark and Robin running around, about to go up some stairs, and you got that one vampire that bursts out of the door and runs up the stairs next to them. Then you've got one vampire that just pulls itself up out of the swimming pool. Like,
I didn't see that.
It was just like waiting in the pool for someone to run by, and slowly, like, because he's waterlogged, can't get after them fast enough. You're like, what's the point?
I didn't catch that part. Yeah.
And then they finally end up in the coffin room, and the Confederate vampire and Sebastian and Countess made me laugh so hard. Because they all get to the room at the same point, the door's locked, and the Confederate soldier vampire...
It's not locked.
It's not locked. The door's closed. The Confederate vampire just smashes through the door with his fist, and the Countess stops him. It's like, every time you break a door, I have to spend the money to replace it.
Could you just for once try the knob?
And he's so dejected, like, head's hanging, he just kind of, like, reaches over and twists the doorknob, and the door just slowly opens fine, not locked whatsoever. And you hear Sebastian in the background. He just goes, "Jock."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about, the strength too, though.
Yeah.
Because not that door, because the vampires split. They're going to two different entrances to this room.
Yeah.
The door that they kind of like seal shut with like a flagpole or pipe or something is a very flimsy door. And
it's the twins on the other side.
And really you just see that they're like, the door is like shaking as if they're like pushing against it or trying to break it down. Yeah. It's like, I'm pretty sure the twins were some of the ones that were breaking through the concrete walls.
And even if that was a super strong like pole they used to lock the door, they would have just pushed the doors apart.
Yeah, the door was very flimsy.
But they do get into the coffin room, and
we cut back to Jamie and Russ, who now are finished their terrible pickup line.
Yep,
and they ask the two female vampires, like, what now? And they just take their dresses off, and we cut back to the scene.
Yep. Fine. At this point, I just accept it now. Like, let's keep going.
Did the female vampires genuinely want to have sex with them? Did they want to feed on them? Because we never go back. That's the last time we see Jamie and Russ in this movie.
And that's why this movie should be called Would You Bang a Vampire? It works.
I would have thought that the female vampires would need to feed too. Yeah. Maybe they can't turn, but okay.
And what do we see when we get into the coffin room?
The coffin is moving, like
shaking, awkwardly shaking. There's some weird rhythm going on there.
Terrible hydraulics.
Yeah. But they open the lid from inside, and it is Mark and Robin having just finished having sex, and the countess is stunned.
You couldn't have.
Yeah, you couldn't have.
You've been in there less than a minute.
Well, you could have, but you didn't enjoy it.
Wow, didn't have time to enjoy it.
So good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the countess then misses the Halloween deadline and ages into an old woman.
You know what the problem with this is? That the midnight chime hits at about the same time that they open the coffin. Even if they didn't have sex in the coffin, she would have missed the deadline.
Yep.
And ages for some reason.
Ages to an old woman. And
why an old woman?
I don't know.
Because if it's like, oh, if I don't get it, I go back to my normal age. Well, she's over 390 years old. Not 70. So I guess
400 if a day.
Yeah. I guess if she doesn't get the virgin blood, she just ages at like 1/5 the speed instead of dying. And then Sebastian's like, oh, we can find some new virgins, because I guess at this point, if she just gets another virgin, maybe by next Halloween she'll turn back young?
Maybe, I don't know. If I don't get it, I show my real age.
But her response, or his response is, well, we can go somewhere, a little more conservative, where people, like, not everybody's no longer a virgin. Like, I think he says Kansas.
Yeah.
And a couple other. It's like, if you were striking out for an entire year in Hollywood, why didn't you do that already?
This is my point. The solution to her problem is human trafficking. Get real, Countess. But yeah, Mark and Robin then just kind of get back to it. And roll credits. I'm sorry, man. I mean, I'm also sorry, me.
So, I had a lot more fun talking about that movie than I did actually watching it.
Yeah, me too.
Do you have anything else you want to say about it?
No. No real facts or anything.
Did you look at the budget?
No, I did not.
Okay, so I have it in front of me here.
I don't even have the ratings, unfortunately. I forgot. Don't
worry about it. So what do you think that the listed budget on IMDb for this movie is?
$3 million.
3.2 million. That is pretty darn close.
Nice. Well done, Mason.
Okay. Now, what do you think the estimated gross for the movie was worldwide? Again, according to IMDb, I don't know the actual accuracy of these numbers.
Well, the only real star would be Lauren Hutton, and she wasn't exactly the most popular then. What was the budget? 3.2 mil? 320,000.
On IMDb, it is listed as a worldwide gross of approximately 10 million.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That was a hit?
I guess so.
That doesn't make any sense.
Hey.
You think Jim Carrey would have been, like, famous at that point then?
I don't know where you normally get the budget numbers from, but this is just literally what I took from IMDb. I don't know if there's a more accurate website I could have gone to.
Huh.
But that is what we have there.
All right,
well...
Wow, okay.
This is fun, turning this around and getting you to guess.
All right.
Okay, so on IMDb... it's listed as roughly 15,000 reviews.
Okay.
What do you think that the average review score is?
5.9.
Not that high, but very close. Very close. It's listed as 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah, okay. I can see why people would rate it that high.
I'm honestly a little surprised.
It's definitely not below a 5. It's competent filmmaking.
Well, what do you think that the tomato meter on it is?
Oh.
If you think that 5.5 is reasonable, the tomato meter might surprise you.
Probably like 23%, 24%. Is that higher than 5.5? 2? 10.
10% tomato meter.
That's bullshit.
The audience score is a little bit higher at 39%.
I was going to say 43. Okay.
Okay, so those are the numbers. Now, keep in mind the tomato meter, obviously, it's only listed as 10 reviews. So, like, at this point, not as many people are going to go back and review this movie to be like a critic on tomato meter.
Yeah. But also keep in mind, too, that these aren't great critics. Not all of them. These are people that just have jobs as, like, film critics for newspapers and shit.
I gotta be honest with you. I think 10 is a little low, but I think 5.5 is absolutely generous.
Okay.
Because you said it yourself. Like, there was only a handful of funny moments when we were watching the movie.
Yeah, and I guess if you're judging a movie based off of the movie alone and not being able to discuss it with a friend or anything like that, as a movie alone, yeah, that makes sense. 5.5 is pretty generous.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I laughed a few times, admittedly, right? Like, when she pushes the old lady over, I laughed. She pushes somebody over again in the gym after the dance scene, when she's exiting the gym.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And I laughed there, too, but again, you're going back to the well with the exact same joke. So,
yeah,
how much can you really give it? I think
that old lady in the fucking clothing store is one of the funniest things I've seen all goddamn year.
She takes a rack down with her.
Dude, what is today? Like, it's March 7th? And I think that's probably the hardest I've laughed this year.
I'm laughing right now.
She just eats that clothing rack.
All right, you want to get into awards?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so you would start us off. Who did you have for the worst performance?
I picked Skip Lackey as Russ.
As Russ?
The character's problematic, but I found he was just really annoying in the role.
But wouldn't you say he was supposed to be?
I don't think so. I think he was supposed to be the cool one.
Well, if that's the case, then he did not do a good job.
Because I've seen that template work so much better in other movies. This isn't original writing, this character. This character pops up in every fucking 80s teen comedy, and it's done the worst here. And I actually looked at some of the lines, I was trying to find my most memorable lines, some of the quotes, and looking at the writing, some of the writing is fine. But you listen to Skip perform those lines, and they're terrible.
I mean, I almost feel like he is supposed to be, like, cocky and confident, but obnoxious because he doesn't realize that he's not. Maybe.
I don't know. I didn't like him in the role. I think anybody else could have done it. Even his joke about the Halloween costume at the pre-Halloween hop, about supposedly being Gandhi, but he couldn't find glasses or a mustache, so he's Yul Brynner. Like, that's just bad acting. Hands on hips, head up looking at the sky. That's just me, though. Like, you definitely can make an argument against my opinion on that one, for sure. But who did you pick?
Jim Carrey as Mark Kendall. And I think the reason that I picked him is because you can really tell, and this might not be his own fault, that they tried to throttle back his, like, slapstick rubber-facey antics to the point that it just comes off as bad acting. Like, when he hands them those ice cream pops, and he says, "Start your day off with a smile," you could actually imagine a way that Jim Carrey could do that where it would probably be hilarious.
Yeah.
But trying to make him essentially act that out straight and just be like a quirky moment makes it just look like a terrible performance. And again, that might not be on him. It might be the direction told him.
I think he just...
But at the same time, he's still the one that's doing it.
Yeah, he definitely felt muted in this movie. I agree with you.
If you watch...
But I think it's because nobody really knew who he was. So they're like, do as I say, don't improvise anything. And then until the dance scene.
Yeah, but they don't film this stuff in order.
No.
You feel like maybe at some point he would have given them something to realize, like, oh, this is not who this guy is.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happened with Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future, right?
And that's fine, but I mean...
No, it worked out well, realizing that this actor you cast doesn't fit the character, and then you stop production and recast Michael J. Fox.
Yeah. But
who actually was
that's
considered to play Mark Kendall.
Yes. In this case, Jim Carrey should have, I don't know if it would have been any better, but played it completely flat out straight.
Yeah.
At least the scenes where he was supposed to be. Second half, when he's doing the dance scenes and stuff, absolutely. But the first 2/3 of the movie, the entire first 2/3, when he's staring at like the lights in Hollywood and giving the ice cream bars and kind of bumblingly flirting at the phone club and stuff like that, it's like you're kind of in this middle zone, a gray area between acting it straight up and acting it over the top Jim Carrey-esque. And you can't sit in this gray area. It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. Good call.
Who did you... I start best performance.
Yeah.
You're probably going to disagree with me on this one as well, but I went with Cleavon Little as Sebastian.
Yeah.
I'm still a little unsure on the character. I don't know if he was a vampire or a familiar. I don't know if he was just flamboyant or just straight up, gay in the movie. But, there's and it's a purposeful awkwardness with this character, but also a very clear air of responsibility with him being like a protector, a guardian, the voice of reason for the vampire side that Jamie should have been for the human side.
He was also the most consistent.
Yes. And he has a very commanding performance. When he's in a scene, he owns it.
Yeah.
Who did you have?
Same.
Really?
Honestly, I was originally thinking Jim Carrey.
Okay.
But I thought about it as we were talking, and I only really enjoyed Jim Carrey in the last bit of the movie. And then I thought about, could somebody else have done it better? Easily. Yeah, they could have. But yeah, I went Cleavon Little. To the point where, I appreciated his performance so much that I wish he was in the film more.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would have him do, and it's probably best that they didn't. But throughout the whole movie, I'm like, when's Sebastian showing up?
I think that the best way that you could have done that, if you want to play on that hypothetical, is don't have all the vampire lackeys hunting for the virgins. Have him as almost like a reverse Buffy the Vampire Slayer keeper. Mm-hmm. That he's the one going out and kind of a little bit more cleverly, not just brute forcingly, trying to find that virgin.
That would be cool.
Instead of take him to a bar and get him drunk, but trying to trick him into going to see the vampire. But again, that would require a complete rewrite of the premises.
Well, and we were talking about the scene at Robin's work in the changing room and everything.
Yep.
We laughed about it quite a few times. But one of my favorite parts of that entire scene was it just cuts to Sebastian and he's smelling some of the clothing on the rack. He's like,
yeah.
That's great. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
What did you have for your favorite or most memorable line?
Well, it's a teen comedy, right?
Supposedly. It's supposed to be.
Yeah. But not a lot of there's no nudity.
Nope, just the painting.
Yeah. And I believe only one swear in it.
Yes.
Yes, and that's in my favorite line. It works out perfectly because
I think you're about to read mine.
It's the one that Robin delivers to the countess.
Yeah.
It's Mark doesn't want you because you're mean and evil. He wants me because I'm nice and sweet and pure. So fuck off.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah. I remember telling you that was one of the lines I remembered from the movie from back when I watched it with my dad before we actually sat down and watched it, because I remembered it from when I was a kid.
Yeah, so that really shouldn't have been any surprise.
No. I was a little surprised you picked it.
That's great.
But for me, you shouldn't be surprised I picked it. And I think it's because she plays it all... Again, she is the sweet and pure and innocent and nice one in the movie.
She's the most character in the movie.
And then just the abrupt change in attitude, so fuck off, right after... is just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So that was my favorite line as well. I don't know if it's actually my favorite now that I've seen it again, but it's definitely my most memorable. Thank you. Yes. For my favorite scene, it's it's the old lady getting pushed into the racking at the mall. Honestly, I could watch a YouTube clip of the countess walking out of the store and just pushing the old lady into the clothing rack on repeat and probably laugh just as hard multiple times.
It's the funniest scene. Undeniably the funniest scene.
It shouldn't be. If that's the funniest scene in the movie, they definitely messed up somewhere. But
everything in that scene was perfect, though. Right down to the fall and like how she like hits the rack and then rolls to the side and everything. Like it's great. But definitely not my favorite or most memorable scene, which would have to be the dance at the hop. And that's just the three actors with the most screen time having a blast.
Yeah. And the scene where they really let Jim Carrey be Jim Carrey.
Yeah. It was just really entertaining, super fun. Choreography, it's okay. I mean, it's a teen movie.
The whole thing is the dancing that they're doing is not meant to be like
telling a story.
Yes, it's not meant to be one of those dance scenes where it's like everybody's impressed because of how fancy their dance moves are. The dance moves are meant to be telling a story of the two fighting for the guy.
Yes, but since it's like such a story of like life and death and hate in that scenario, I just find it absolutely hilarious that they'll like the countess will dressed as a magician will come at Robin with the wand, like super threatening way, even though it's not doing anything, and Robin like has to back off by like swinging her elbows out one at a time and shuffling backwards. Like, yeah, telling the story, but it's a pretty stupid fucking story.
Yeah,
it's just funny. It's great, and people are having fun. That's my most memorable and favorite for sure.
Oh man, that was an adventure. Any closing thoughts on this one?
It's a rough movie.
It is a rough movie.
But it's a really
filmed pretty well.
Fun movie to talk about. The theme song, Once Bitten, and the song at the dance, Hands Off, will get stuck in your head.
Yeah.
And it's fine because they're entertaining. They're great. I do not recommend watching the movie.
No.
Unless you're with a group of people and you're all willing to openly make fun of it. Because there's a lot to make fun of. You can't take this seriously. It is a comedy. You're not really supposed to. But the comedy is so outdated that it's cringy at times.
It's also bare bones.
Very bare bones.
For a comedy, there's very few scenes that are even like, oh, that was supposed to be funny, but I just didn't laugh. There's just a lot of not funny scenes in a comedy.
And if you are going to watch the movie, don't approach it as a Jim Carrey film. Approach it as a film that happens to have Jim Carrey in it. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely not recommend unless you're with a group of friends. But yeah, hopefully moving on to bigger and better.
I don't even think that I could recommend watching it with a group of friends.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many.
Thanks, man.
There's just so many other movies that are going to be more consistently bad or not funny, or, you know, like if you're going to be watching with a group of friends in the attempt to elicit making fun of it and having stupid conversations about it, you're going to spend 2/3 of it just waiting for something to happen to talk about.
Definitely.
So in that case, watch something else with your friends to rip apart. Right? If you're watching like a Cole's Notes version of the movie that's 20 minutes long, maybe. But there is a lot of parts that you're just going to be like, well, there's really not much for me to talk about with him sleeping in a box and his dad being all thrown off by. Like, there's just so many scenes where it's like, all right, I'm not going to laugh at him hissing at kids. It just doesn't fit in the movie. Like,
this could have been a really, really good short film.
There are so many dead scenes where just nothing happens good or bad to enjoy or rip apart. That you're wasting an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Man, I used to love this movie as a kid. Should have left it like that.
Yeah, I used to think it was pretty funny too. Not entirely sure why, but alright.
That's our thoughts on Once Bitten. If you guys want to share your thoughts with us, you can hit us up on social media. We can be found on Twitter at BSBargainBin, Facebook.com/BSBargainBin, BSBargainBin@Outlook.com, or leave a comment in the comments section of the YouTube channel. Whew, that's a mouthful. Next week is our next fan pick movie. The votes have been tabulated, and Ben, what are we watching next week?
Whew. Next week we are watching 1991's Suburban Commando.
Charlie Wilcox is having a bad day, but help is on the way, and his name is Chef Ramsay.
I'm here to rent the apartment.
Suburban Commando.
Honey, it's for you.
It's Hulk Hogan like you've never seen him before. Skateboarding, child raising, crime fighting.
It's the mailman.
Charlie Wilcox has just discovered the solution for all life's problems.
Leave a message or take a seat. I said take a seat. Funny. That's real funny.
Sometimes I just get carried away.
I'm just your landlord. I bring you an extra bar of soap when you need it. For being a target for intergalactic bounty hunters is a little out of my line. I was frozen today.
Hulk Hogan.
What a nervous guy.
Christopher Lloyd. Suburban Commando.
You got any idea what we're gonna do to you? You're gonna pound my face.
What are you, nuts? This is the 90s. We're gonna sue you.
All right, until next week, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and have a good one.
All the best, guys. You shill.